Hi everyone, it's so good to be with you today. Welcome to today's digital devotion. We hope that you had a wonderful Easter weekend. And so Easter tide, blessings to all of you. We try our best to practice what we preach. Oftentimes when we're delivering a sermon, we're just preaching to ourselves and telling ourselves something that we need to hear. And we try to live that out in our own lives. But there is something that we talk about a lot that we have not ever done. And that is, we often talk with people about the importance of doing planning for your own death. And in the Christian faith, we don't think that death is the end. We believe that God has something in store for us after death. And so it's healthy, it's important, it's good to have open conversations about death. We had a great event a few years ago called Death Over Dinner, where you put that on and we just had open conversations about some of the aspects and fears that we have surrounding death.
Yeah.
And as part of that conversation, we want people to make plans for themselves, for their family, for their memorial services, and for their estates. And so we have never done that. And so during this pandemic, we have tried to take our own encouragement and make some preparations for our own estate planning upon our death. As part of that, what we want to mention to you today is something called the Legacy Society. And what the Legacy Society of Claremont United Church of Christ is it's a group of people who have committed to leaving a part of their estate to the church upon their death. And these people are saying, we want to care for the long-term health of the church. We care what happens to this faith community that's important to us, even after we die, to ensure that generations to come are able to worship and to do ministry together. And this is really interesting, but the single greatest contributor to our yearly budget, which allows us to do ministry, is our endowment, made up of these estate gifts that people give. So we take a 5% draw on that endowment, which is part of its continual increase from its interest and dividends. And that goes into our budget. And that gift is the single biggest gift in our budget, because people like you and me, Jen, and everyone watching, people in the past from 1891 forward have made their own commitments and their estate planning to the church. And when they've given money to the church upon their death, it's gone into the endowment, which has allowed the endowment to grow. And we had a goal this year that at least 2 people would make commitments to joining the Legacy Society. So we're one.
We count as one.
We're one unit. 2 units, we count as one unit. And so we're wondering who the other unit is going to be. Maybe one of you will also join the Legacy Society. It's made up of some awesome people in the church, including former pastor Butch Henderson and his wife Rosemary are part of the Legacy Society. And it can be anyone. These are just people who say, the church is important to me. Like Louise Roberts, the Louise Roberts room. She, moved to California and all she had were the 2 vases in that case in the Louise Roberts room when she moved. But she saved up a little bit of money and left that to the church. So the Louise Roberts room was built because of this one person leaving a small percentage of what they had, and she didn't even have very much.
I think sometimes when we think about estate planning, it feels totally overwhelming. Especially for those of us who haven't started the process. But I do think that in going through it, we find it's actually not as complicated or as frightening as we may have thought. And it actually gives us great peace of mind to be able to look at all of the wealth that we've accumulated in our lives. And that can be, a small amount of resources, that can be it can be really anything, but I think it will surprise you to think about how wealthy you are, even if that doesn't mean financially. It's a great way to take stock of your life and to think about your family members, the organizations that are meaningful to you, and how you want to continue to support all of those things after your time on earth is finished. And so in that way, it's a deeply spiritual practice. The poem that I read by Wendell Berry on Easter morning was all about planting sequoias and about putting down seeds for things that you will never get to enjoy the fruition of. There's something deeply spiritual in caring for the future, and it's really a process of hope and planting those seeds of hope, knowing that through faith, it will be used to great ends. And we, like Jacob said, we are reaping the benefits of people, of saints who did that generations ago. Today, the church functions and remains vibrant and healthy because of their foresight and their gifts and their hope and faith that our generation would come along and carry the torch. So it's a beautiful thing to do, and we hope that you will join us. And I can also say as a pastor that when we sit down with families and do memorial service planning, the more organized and the more explicit that a person's wishes are on paper, the easier it is for the family. It is such a gift for someone to be able to say, I know exactly what my loved one wanted, and it's all spelled out clearly, and these resources are going here, these possessions are going there, and this is what the service is going to look like. And it takes all of that stress out of an already heavy time and just allows you to celebrate the life and legacy of that person. So many reasons to do this. And like Jacob said, in the past, we've had death over dinner conversations, which I hope we will do again in the future. And we always walk out of those conversations feeling really joyful about life, which is kind of counterintuitive, but talking openly about our plans after death really allows us to embrace the here and now.
Yeah, and people worry, I've got to make sure that I'm taking care of my loved ones afterward. And when you do estate planning and you're leaving a gift towards an organization or institution that's important to you, like a church, it can just be a small percentage, 5%. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be 100% of what you have.
Oh, definitely not.
And so, all right, so you and I made a gift to the church in our estate planning. Mm-hmm. And so we hope that at least one person can let us know, join the Legacy Society. To join the Legacy Society, all you have to do is say, I did this. You don't have to prove it to us. If you want to lie to us,
you don't have to tell us any dollar amount. You don't have to tell us any property things. Nothing. It's just an affirmation of your intent.
And if you change your mind, that's okay. But we just want at least one other person out there to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to make this commitment to leave something in my estate planning to the church and join the Legacy Society. And the Legacy Society has little meetings over time, at least once a year, to just say, hey, we care about the future of the church, and we do some long-term vision and planning and talk about what's exciting to us and what we hope for the church in the future. So we want you to be part of that visioning process with us.
Yeah.
All right. Have a great day, everyone.
See you next time.